It's nothing.
Sorry.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Are there any changes to the agenda? Oh, all righty. New business. Rochelle, talk to us about, I assume it's Junker Street. What is that really?
Junker.
Junker.
Yeah.
All right, that's what Junker Street.
Perfect. Okay. So just a quick overview of the staff report that I provided, and I did make a presentation that hopefully help guide this discussion. So let me bring it up. Okay, slideshow. Okay, so Junker Street is a proposed park parcel that's about 0.1789 acres, and the applicant also wants to potentially complete enhancements for the trail. And so here is the current pre-application for Junker Street. Oh, thanks. So you can see here that this is the portion that would be the proposed park. This is an existing trail. And then this is the handwritten application or the pre-application that was turned in by the applicant. What I did find out tonight, maybe Kelly can speak a little bit to this, but during the pre-application meeting with planning, it sounds like this might be a private park. And so basically this is a small piece of property. It does have a trail easement through it. You can see here the aerial picture where it's in relation to Tupper. So there is a park right by this piece of property. And then here's a street view of the trail. And then I wanted to provide this information to show where that might be David jumping on. So here you can see, here's Tupper Park. Oh, I bet that's. Okay. So David is on. So Tupper Park is right here. And this is from the Parks and Trails Master Plan, and it shows where proposed future parks should go. So you can also see in this area, because there's Tupper Park in this property, it does serve the population. Hi, David.
Hello, I'm here, but I'm not here, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
It's baseball season, so trying to do two tasks at once.
All right. So basically, in summary, what staff is recommending based on this proposal is to take a fee in lieu instead of a dedication, and to take SDC credits for the improvement of the trail that runs through that property. So I guess that I'll open it up for comments, questions. Kelly, if there's anything you'd like to add, but the fee in lieu we would receive is approximately $16,870. STC.
The fee in lieu is how much?
16,870 approximately.
Okay. That's what I thought I heard 60,000. I'm like, holy crap, we really increased it.
SCCs, and anybody can jump in if I miss a bit of it, but when a developer does a development, they pay into system development charges, which is a fee that we pass on to the developer for capacity building. And so we have parks SCCs, which is actually we'll be learning all about that in our next Parks and Trails Advisory Board meeting, because we'll be reviewing SCCs and methodology. Good question. Yeah.
And so you'd collect about 20,000 in SDC. I mean, it's about, roughly speaking, about $2,500 in addition to the.
And I was remiss in not introducing Kelly. So Kelly O'Neill is the Community Development Director. And so he's here tonight because a lot of this he's an expert in. He's going to answer questions if you have any.
And Kelly, it looks like you have a meeting on April 5th. This is
Yeah, I don't think I'm attending in grants anymore. But yeah, my staff didn't have. And we told them your discussion tonight would forward on your recommendation to them. So right now, they're just doing like review meetings right now.
I do know, I was telling Rochelle, actually, I have a lot of experience with that trail, because when I was in here a while back, over a decade ago now, Kathleen Walker, Mike, and myself, Jim Slade, one of the other people, we improved that trail. And one of the problems with that trail when I first moved here is the original alignment went right through private property, it's like an easement, and so we shifted it back into the easement. That being said, that was about 9 or 10 years ago, so it definitely, I think, could use new love and care.
I just discovered that.
Was that in the street right away, heading straight down?
If you want, okay, I can show you where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where it goes is it goes, yeah, exactly. It goes down through our right of way that we own. And then it actually goes, I think, a little bit onto this property, and then it's pretty close to the green line. And then like through there, and there is an easement, so you already have easement rights.
Right. And Rochelle said the park may be a private park, I'm assuming that's a requirement. Multifamily.
They have, if you have over 5 dwelling units, you have 200 square feet per private space.
And so I really don't see any advantage to us taking this fee in lieu. Personally, I think further straightforward. That's me.
That's what I thought when I read it. So, I think I did before, to be honest.
Yes.
It's pretty easy decision. So you're saying it's a requirement of the unit to have the outdoor space, does that mean the park will go in regardless if we take the fee in lieu?
No, that just means that, so if they have 8 units, they just have to provide, I think it's 200 square feet, 1,600 square feet of outdoor recreation area.
They just have to create space within their own.
And it could be on that little red rectangular piece, or it could be somewhere else on their site if they can accommodate it somewhere else.
I guess my feeling is when you're taking those tiny spaces, it costs more to drive to them than it does.
And if there's already a park that services that area, it's, yeah, essentially.
I mean, Mining Park's not that far away.
No, mining's not far away and Jumper is, I think, right there. David, did you have any issues or concerns or questions?
I do not know.
Okay. Well, I saw at least 2 other heads besides mine nodding, but mine nods all the time. So, does everyone make a motion to go on with this recommendation? I believe that there was a draft motion included. The staff report. Suggested motion.
I move that the Parks and Trails Advisory Board accepts the approval of parkland dedication for 38800.
Excellent motion. Ready to come up with that. Is there a second? Okay, there you were, David.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I
Alrighty. Okay, moving right along now. Look at that, we got an item done already.
Okay. Second item on new business would be talking to this group about rescheduling the May 11th Parks and Trails board meeting to the first week in May. And the reason we would like to do this is because Kelly and I, along with FCS, ESA, we've been working on the SCCP and methodology update. And we just had a meeting with them today. They've completed their analysis for the fee in lieu portion of it. And so we would like to bring the fee in lieu SDC methodology to the Parks Board for review prior to bringing it to the council meeting scheduled on May 16th. We'd like to have the time to incorporate any of your feedback into that report that goes to the council during the work session. And so by rescheduling it to that first week in May allows us the time to compose your thoughts and then incorporate it into our presentation and discussion with the city council. The 2 dates that I did confirm, FCS and ESA, are available to join us at the next meeting so they can answer all those technical questions for us, either May 4th or May I don't know, if either one of those dates works for this group. We're willing to reschedule.
I'm available for anything.
I'm traveling that second week, so the 4th or the 5th, either date works better for me anyway. Thank you.
Yeah, same here. I'm leaving the 11th through the 12th, so or no, sorry, the 10th through the 14th. So the early in the month works better for me too.
It's fine. Then.
Do you feel we have to make a motion for that, Chair? Okay, May 5th, 7 PM. All right.
That's kind of food comes in.
Right.
Close meeting. All righty. Up to my new business, hello, old business. Dear Meadows, revised plan, what do you got for us, sir? Sean?
Okay, I'm going to do a quick overview of what I provided in the staff report, and this is a rather long, convoluted development that Kelly's been highly involved with. I do believe we have Tracy Brown online. I thought I saw him jump in. But basically, the Deer Meadows, there's a new proposed parkland dedication that has 2 separate tracks. And one of the tracks is 0.12 additional acres next to the existing Deer Point or Deer Meadows track, which is this piece of property right here. This is the space that's being proposed to be developed. This is the revised plot that was submitted, and it shows that this track here, track A, is next to the adjoining property or the track that the city is already, that we already own. And then this is track C, which is what the developer is proposing as the second piece of property to meet the code requirements to dedicate land. This was the original proposal, and the Parks Board, to give you a little bit of context, because I know we want some basics here. But the original proposal, the preliminary plat had 1.46 acres adjacent to our park. And that through a series of meetings, this group in particular met on August 11th to talk about this proposal, and it had changed. This group liked this original proposal, was not a fan of the second proposal. And so we submitted information in a memo saying as much that went into the record that Kelly submitted along with the record. Part of the reason this park hasn't been developed is because in our Parks and Trail System master plan, we had a concept that incorporated that property that was going to be dedicated. And so this is the plan that's in the Parks and Trail System master plan. And I guess they put some fade in there. And so,
Very dramatic.
yeah, right. So next steps, this group, I would like to talk about next steps, and Kelly can fill in some of the details here too. Needed, but April 18th, there'll be a council meeting about Deer Meadows subdivision and a continuance appeal. So as a group, we can submit our opinions, which I actually believe I might have that wrong. That goes to, your comments go to planning commission first?
No, it's on, so it's gonna go to city council.
Is that what, okay?
Yeah, it's already, planning commission already denied the subdivision.
Okay, so it'll go to council. Okay, so the option that we can discuss today is deny the revised plot as submitted, provide written comments, or suggest an alternative. And I'd like to quickly just review, this is what's being proposed. And so this piece of property, just to give us some orientation of where we're at, this is Highway 26. These trees listed, or these trees noted here are retention trees. So those trees will have to stay on the property. And then this little cigarette strip of a piece of property next to this track here is, I don't know, 5,292 square feet of this little strip of property. Yes, with that information,
Rochelle, on the proposed larger piece, on the far east side of it, what's that squared off part adjacent to?
Talk about
Where at?
this piece down right here. Here,
No, other end.
The bottom.
the other east.
This here?
Yep, that one right there.
Yeah, what's that?
It's just more land than they can develop.
Okay.
It's just correct.
So basically the offer is an acre parcel that has a sole frontage of
We have-
Highway 26.
Yeah,
So if you have one of the kids, walk along Highway 26 or like one of the cut throughs there.
So yeah, so just for a little more background on it, so this, I believe is the fourth proposal since I've worked in Sandy in 11 years. So we originally had something called this loop south, we've been around here for a while. That had approval, but
It was approved right when the downturn in the economy happened in 2008. So it never got off the ground. Then in 2011 or 12, it got reinstated through a plat reinstatement process that the city actually wasn't even having anymore. It was just like a economic recovery thing that we did, reinstate plats that went from the 2008 number.
and then, so they got that plat reinstated, they failed to build it within the 2-year period with the plat reinstatement, so then it basically went away again. So that was called this loop south. And then fast forward to, I think about 2018 or 19, we had a proposal called Bull Run Terrace, which was the other proposal that Rochelle showed. With the parkland, this was Bull Run Terrace, which was another subdivision. They were proposing density increases in this. Ultimately, the city council decided that it was not in the best interest of the city of Sandy to allow the density increases, and they denied Bull Run Terrace. So then they proposed Deer Meadows without any parking in it, so just all in lieu. That was denied by the planning commission, I believe in November, December. And then their latest proposal, which is really the fourth subdivision proposal as far as layout is concerned, is this one with the parkland, with two basically separate parks.
Are they putting the park on the side just because of the trees? Just curious.
The applicant's representative would probably be a better person to answer that, but yeah, I think, from my perspective, I think. Yeah, because the retention trees, they can't build on that area anyways.
But it's
Yeah,
right by
it's
the
more
freeway. So,
So Tracy, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Great. Would you like to?
I can't see you, but I can see you kind of in the distance there, but I can't, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, great. Why don't you take a minute or two and tell us why this would be a good deal for the city?
Yeah, I guess even going back a little bit further, I was the planning director when the Deer Point subdivision went in, and actually the city purchased that property from the developer, and basically with each building permit granted, the city would reimburse the developer for that property. And that was really at that time the only way the city could get property. There was no requirement for a fee in lieu of, or what the code is trying to say of requiring parkland dedication. So yeah, I mean, I think the history is beyond that point is pretty accurate in what Kelly talked about. This is an effort to kind of reach a compromise, to provide a park right next to the existing Deer Point Park would really blow up this subdivision, we'll say. And with that requirement, and that apparently the city council's desire not to see any increase in density, the property will just be vacant forever. That's my prediction. If you can pull up the Deer Point Park plan, or that would be helpful to look at.
I think he's saying the thing in the master plan.
Yeah, there you go. So it looks, so you can kind of see the property line there, kind of the majority of the active property is on the existing Deer Point subdivision property. And really the additional we'll say the spillover onto this property is in the form of a trail and maybe a little additional expansion of a multi-use field. I mean, it's, so with the proposal, it would be even more of a trail system that would kind of meander through the subdivision, and there could be, you know, additional amenities within that park. It also provides a connection, and that, you know, you asked, I think, Don, you asked the question about what's on the other side of that, and that's a commercial piece of property which, you know, could be developed in the future, will be developed in the future. It's part of this property, and we don't have any proposed development on it right now. But, you know, this plan provides connectivity through you know, could be an expanded trail, pedestrian network onto that property as well, where the other plan doesn't kind of afford that amenity. You know, I guess, you know, kind of the bottom line is this, the developer feels this is kind of their best effort to address the park dedication requirement. And as proposed, it does exceed the park dedication requirement. There's a little question about, you know, so it says it's 1.08 acres. And based on the number of units currently proposed, it would require, I believe, 0.93 acres. But, you know, I just talked to the developer this afternoon, and he said, yeah, we're proposing a 1.08 acre park as shown. There's not a question about retracting it later. So this is what is being proposed with a, you know, could include a trail system and connectivity through the development to an adjacent property. So in comparison to the Deer Point plan, it's, you know, in some ways it's really not that much different, because that plan doesn't anticipate having that entire property in any sort of active use anyway. So I guess I'll kind of leave it at that. If there's any questions that you might have for me, and try to answer those.
I just had one question. I'm not sure if Michelle, you know, or Kelly, or even Tracy. When the city purchased the original Deer Meadows property, that didn't involve any federal funding at all. It was all SDCs or.
No, it was a purchase. It wasn't SDCs, it wasn't federal funds. It basically, what we did is came up with a value. And as I said, with each building permit, so that value of that land was distributed among all of the all of the lots within that Deer Point subdivision. And with each building permit, we gave the property owner money back in order to purchase that property. So there was an agreement, you know, it was a kind of a, I had to kind of monitor that and keep track of it as each building permit came in. I would let the finance director know, and he would cut a check for the developer for that, you know, that building permits portion of purchasing that parkland.
I've got a question if I can, Don. What's that?
Go ahead.
Did I hear you say that it was part of another piece of property though? So can that part even be sectioned off and sold?
Oh, no, it's part of the same property, but it's a different zoning. So I don't know if you can maybe go back to the overall, I'm not sure it really shows it right, but so the property includes, there's two properties essentially involved. Yeah, I guess this shows it probably the best, but it's not the right plan. So all of this property that's shown in that brownish color is part of this property, although it has part of it has a zoning of C3, which is commercial, a type of commercial, And part of it has an R2, which is medium density residential. So it is, all of that with the color on it is part of this property. It's a different arrangement. This was the previous plan, and now we're with a new plan with the Deer Meadows. This is probably incorrectly labeled because with this plan, it was called Bull Run Terrace. That was the original proposal called Bull Run Terrace. That was denied by both the Planning Commission and City Council, and the applicant submitted a new application called Deer Meadows subdivision, which is the current plan we're looking at right there. Yep. This is just showing a clip of that current plan. It doesn't show the entire plan. There's property to the south, and there's more property to the east or the right, kind of the lower right-hand corner. Does that answer your question?
David? Oh, maybe we lost David.
No, I don't have any more questions.
Okay, thank you. Will, do you have any questions?
Yeah, where it says existing public park, just to the, I guess it would be to the west of the strip, is that really, what park would that be?
That's the unimproved Deer Point subdivision park. That was part of the Deer Point subdivision, which is directly to the west or to the left of that park. So it's
So
just
that's
a big,
already
it's just a big grassy field, and it's under city ownership.
It is under, that was my question. Okay,
Yeah,
great, thanks.
yeah, that's what I was referring to when I was talking about the city purchased that property from the developer of that Deer Point subdivision.
That's the reference. Okay, perfect. That it just came full circle for me. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
It's conveyed on the plat, it's fully parked.
Yeah.
And then it's,
Any questions or- One of my concerns that I appreciate the creativity of the developer and trying to come up with a solution that I personally don't find satisfaction with. No offense to the developer. One of the assumptions I think that everybody is making, and one of the reasons why I asked if there was any federal funding associated with the original property purchase, is that we remain with that as our base property. And I guess one of the questions that I would have, I know that was alluded in the staff report, is the potential of doing some type of a land swap. Possibly, trading off a piece on the north and a piece on the south of our property for an adjacent piece. But with that, that's basically the same amount of property that they're proposing here. Short of that, I know that well, I don't know if there's any other land in the neighborhood that would be available of size that would make up for that we could work with the developer to do a swap on. If we wanted to go down that road, I would suggest that Rochelle and Tracy and Kelly get together with the.
yeah, I wouldn't, I mean, just to be honest, I wouldn't define it for a land swap, because all the people on Meadow, that
waiting.
they're waiting on it, and when they get by their house,
They're told.
across the street, not only were they told by their realtor that it would be a park someday, but it's actually conveyed on the plat to be a park. So I personally wouldn't support it because I don't think that would be appropriate for the people that bought thinking that they were gonna live right across the street.
I can understand their disappointment, but I also think that people would be generally disappointed with this result also. So I guess from my perspective, we cannot support this proposal. With that said, does anybody else have a differing opinion?
No,
You don't?
no.
I don't have
Well,
anything.
I'm sorry, but David?
I said I don't have anything, and I'm in agreement with you. So
He's in great.
Okay. Well, how do you feel?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I looked at this property last time, so no, I'm with you, John.
Well, I think maybe what we need to do is, do a correspondence to the council. Letting them know that we do not support this proposal. Everybody comfortable with that? Yes. Are you guys comfortable with that, Will and David?
yes,
Yes,
Would anybody like to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a
I'll make
motion
a-
for that.
We all do at the same time.
Go.
I'll second that.
Okay, David, you want to make a quick motion for us?
Are you talking to me, Don?
Yes.
What'd you say? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So did you want to make a motion to that effect?
Yes, I said I'll motion that. I'll make a motion to that.
Okay, so the motion is, if I can paraphrase what you just said, that we prepare a correspondence to council saying that we do not support this option.
Correct.
And Will, did you second that?
I will second that, yes.
Okay. Well, with that, any further discussions?
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting ready to vote, obviously, to recommend against it, but I guess the only thing I would say is there any basis in the code that the reason you're making that decision? You know, and that's what it really comes down to. What does the code require? And can you point to a section of the code that would allow you to, we'll say, arbitrarily recommend denial of this park? So that would be my only input, but I see what you're going to decide. We do have input from the city attorney that the city cannot require the location of parks. That's been on the record. So basically what you're saying is you don't like this location. You're not saying that you don't like the area proposed because it meets the code, the area. So I guess that would be my only, and I'll stop there.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for allowing me to give that input.
Not a problem. I understand what you're saying. I agree that while we may not have the interpretation of the code, as you point out, what our charge really isn't necessarily the strict interpretation of the code. I'll leave that to the planning commission and the city council. Our job is to look at the best interests of the community and how the parks serve that community and the products that we put out there to fulfill that obligation to the community. I think what we're saying tonight is that we would love to be able to work with the developer in a way that would best serve the community and still is in compliance with the codes and the requirements of the city. And we do not begrudge the developer the opportunity to have a successful business proposition out there too. So with that, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Motion passes. Thank you very much. And thank you, Tracy, for joining us this evening. I hopefully we'll get something figured out that is to everybody's satisfaction in the future.
And this is just input. I guess in the future, it would have been nice to know about the meeting in advance and be invited to attend. I had to kind of scramble to figure it out. So that's just some input, I guess. That if you're really wanting input, you need to involve those that are intimately involved in the project. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I add something just so that you guys get a developer answer these sort of questions? Well, Tracy's not incorrect that our attorney has said that they're not positive if we can require parkland in a certain spot within private property. That is also not a court decision. That's our attorney's interpretation of state law. So, and I'm going to be clear with city council, and I think our attorney will be on my end as well, that is an interpretation of state law, not a court decision. It's not case law. And then the second point I'd like to make to you is that, well, I think Tracy's point of looking at the code is very valid. I think Don is 100% correct. That is more valid in a quasi-judicial land use setting, such as before planning commission and city council. You as the parks board are not bound by the quasi-judicial land use law. So you're giving a recommendation. Your recommendation can be based on whatever you feel it needs to be based on. You're not bound to code because you are not in a decision in this process. So just want to clarify that for you.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate you put there. Well, that was fun. Let's move on to item 7.2, update on code edits. Michelle.
Okay, so I'll probably end up teeing this up for Kelly again to talk about, but one of the things that he's been working on prior to me starting, has taken me along on the journey, is the edits for the codes, chapter 1732, which is parks and open space, and chapter 1786, parkland and open space. And he's been having several meetings, working with the attorney, probably several meetings is an understatement, but it's taken a lot of work to get here. And these code changes will be taken to the council in a future work session meeting. And we'd like to review the work that we've done up until this point and some of the edits we've incorporated. This did go in front of the Parks Board at a previous meeting where the Parks Board did provide input on the original edits. So those were incorporated into this, I guess, if you will, final draft will be taken to the city council. So Kelly, is there anything you want to highlight for the group?
Yeah, I think just a couple things to kind of piggyback off what I just talked about. So when it comes to quasi-judicial, that just basically means that it's a decision on a piece of property is what it really means. So a subdivision, legal curve as a sign of conditional use permit, a partition, any of those sort of things, that's a quasi-judicial decision. This before you tonight, where you're given a recommendation on this legislative decision, and so that's usually legislative decisions are code based or map based. So one thing I want to highlight in that is with quasi-judicial, in the last 3 to 4 years in the state of Oregon, there's been a very big push to basically approve every single housing application within every city, even if that application flies in the face of the public. And so since about 2018, you've seen a big push from the state legislature to start what's called middle housing. So House Bill 2001, which is allowing duplexes basically everywhere, it's over 10,000. House Bill 2003, which is going to be kicking back off of that. We have Senate Bill 458, which is allowing land division anywhere where there's a duplex allowed. So all of these things are very important because it's basically leading up to the state is pushing for housing. And so any housing now in the state of Oregon is called a needed housing application. And when it's a needed housing application, you can only apply clear and objective code requirements. So you can't apply discretionary code requirements. And plans and stuff have to be adequately incorporated into development code. So in saying all that, I want to be clear, since this is a recorded meeting and we have a hearing on the 18th, that just because we're doing these edits does not mean we're omitting or giving into any of the stance that the Deer Meadows attorney with Schwab Williams implied to say. I'm not saying that's what's going on at all. What I am saying is we've had complaints and grievances from developers and from land use attorneys that are opposed to the city, and they have pointed that we need to make the code more clear and objective and incorporate the different master plan. So that's what this is trying to achieve. It's trying to make it so that it's very clear to everybody what the code is intending to say. And then in addition to that, there are a few things that we're updating, such as like the primary permitted uses in the parks and open space zoning district. We're increasing the acre of parkland per person as recommended by ESA with Parks Master Plan. We are, there's one other one. We're removing a diagram that has been very confusing and has required streets around all sites of parks in the past. One of the reasons why we're removing that is because it's very burdensome, because the city has to pay for a half street improvement. So half the asphalt, one side of the street, sidewalk, a curb, and everything, whenever we require that. So those are kind of the high level reasons why we're doing it and some of the big changes. If you have any questions, I can discuss. I've been dealing with this for years, so trying to keep it kind of a little bit big picture here.
I'm assuming that our city attorney has reviewed all this and reflected on it.
The code amendments in the 2 chapters that are before you tonight have been reviewed by the city attorney's office. And I do want to proposition that with, again, the city attorney is giving their legal advice known on case law and court cases, but the city attorney can't guarantee that code changes are going to be
Upheld.
exactly.
I think we all understand that. Okay, anybody have any questions of Kelly or Rochelle? Will or David, you guys have any questions?
No, I do not.
Well.
No, I'm good wrestling with my mute button. No, thanks.
So just kind of one thing, I did talk to Don, what was that, a couple summers ago? Yeah. Seems like forever, but maybe it was last summer. About some of these standards. I think Don was very helpful in weighing in on some of the parkland standards in 1786-20. And that's the section that I got a lot of assistance and advice from ESA as well, because that's where this code section, a lot of this is kind of legalese and a lot of it's kind of in my realm. But 1786-20 is where it's more like the parks professionals that are kind of dictating a lot of that. So we did get a lot of assistance from ESA who did the master plan. So I just want to make sure you understand that they were very involved in this code update, especially when it's talking about standards.
Right, and this group, under slightly different configuration, different folks, different chairs, has reviewed this, I believe, twice now. And this is I believe, is a very good representation of our recommendations the last time we took a look at it. So with that, I'm completely comfortable with the proposed language. What we're looking for tonight is a motion recommending approval to the planning commission. Is that correct?
Correct. And then what they will do is review it on the 25th and recommend and make a recommendation. And then I'll include both your recommendation and theirs to the city council. Before that, I think you.
Well, I would entertain a motion to that effect if anybody's interested.
Motion to recommend planning.
Yes. So we have a motion.
Adopt these changes.
Yes. Yeah, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Pat. Any further discussion? No? Yes.
Just, I still support it, but my question is just that, I noticed that the plan amendments are, it was posted. Just curious if there was a public hearing, or is that not there?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and it's a little bit different with legislative and quasi-judicial. So if it's a quasi-judicial decision where it's one piece of property like a subdivision, then we have noticing parts and send out to everybody within a certain distance. Legislative, we put it on our website, we put it in the newspaper, sometimes we blast it on Facebook, but no, we don't send it out to my neighborhood, because this is effective for the whole.
So, but the community doesn't have a chance to comment.
They don't have
Right.
at the hearings.
They have the opportunity to comment tonight. they have the opportunity to comment at the planning commission, and then they'll also have an opportunity for city council.
So there's some.
Yeah, there's, it's like a big gig.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is usually with legislative changes like this, it's just, they're very complicated and technocratic. And this is where you can actually make changes that you then see effective in the community. But a lot of times people don't really get involved with these changes, they get involved when there's a subdivision or something else, and at that point, we get involved with it, so.
Yeah, but you're involved with like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you so comfortable with your second?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, excellent, good questions. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Well, David and Will, did you guys get a chance to vote?
I voted yes.
Okay. David?
Yeah.
Okay. All righty, thank you. Okay. With that, we're at the Sandy Bluff Park Shelter, Park Shelter and Dog Park Improvement Concept Plan. Michelle.
Right. So based on a conversation and goal setting session that we had as a group on February 9th, one of the things that we had prioritized was park improvements and dog shelters, or not dog shelters, although they probably meant dog shelters, but shelters and improvements to the dog park. And so this conversation is based around the department applying for a local government grant through the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. And we're proposing, it's a concept that you'll see tonight. I wanted the Parks Board to take a look at it, provide feedback, and then ultimately we will be taking this information and taking it to the council for an authorization or a resolution to authorize us to apply for the grant. So this is one step in many layers to receive the grant and the paperwork that we need. So, but I wanted the Parks Board to see it and provide a letter of recommendation that the department apply for a grant through the LGTP. So we'll take a second to review the concept and then talk about that. And then if the group supports it, we'll ask that you write a letter of support and we'll have the chair sign it, and then the department will apply for the grant. So here's the concept. And this was also part of the full agenda packet. But to show where this is located, so I don't know if you're familiar, if people have been to Sandy Bluff Dog Park, there's 4 pods essentially. This is the bottommost of the pod where the dog park is. This is the current small dog park. This is the large dog park. And we would remove this fence. And again, this is a concept, add steps that come in as the route that there's that really steep portion of the dog park. And we would put in a new gate and we would have access from the west side that would come along this path, have a gate here so all users would be able to access the dog park. This would be the location of one of the smaller shelters. We would put a path here, so if somebody wanted to come in and go through this gate into this area for the dog shelter and access the large dog shelter, we've provided access for them. Right now, it's very limited access to people with different mobility. So this would help with that. And then there's a proposal or concept to put a gravel path along the inside for patrons who want to walk it. Currently, there's a steep slope. And this would extend a little bit beyond the gate to help with the parks crew when it comes to edging and weeding along the fence. So probably save a little bit of time for the parks crew. And this is where the second shelter is located. And there's that playground. So then the larger shelter, the 16 by 30-foot shelter, would be right next to the playground. And that would allow for about 3 or 4 picnic tables. And the department could rent it out and would help us cover some of our cost recovery. So we could potentially have birthday parties and reserve that. And here's some existing shelters, and it's an example or pictures of the Sandy style. So in the code, we have to design shelters that have the large timber and the stone. And so this is what the shelters would look like, very similar. Here's that access that I was talking about. That's really the steep access on the east side of the dog park. This is looking into the small dog park. This is looking into the large dog park area. And then this is just an example of where the trail would go along the inside of the fence. The estimated budget, and so the grant is a 40% match. We'd actually be coming in at about 56%, but the total estimated cost would be about $153,000, and that includes a 30% contingency. There is about $20,000 sitting in a trustee account right now that was raised specifically for dog park improvements. So we do have that as a match. And then we are including some in-kind to help you build trails and things like that will also be part of the project cost. So with that, I'll open it up for comments and your feedback from the Parks and Trails Advisory Board, and hopefully at the end, there's a letter of support from this group.
So Rochelle, this is,
Go ahead, Rob.
yeah, so Rochelle, this really does a good job of addressing the accessibility problem. Increasing the size of the small park, which was quite small, and the stairs. I mean, even for somebody that is mobile, that's a slippery, muddy slope. So adding the stairs on both sides makes a ton of sense. You know, as a frequent visitor to this park, I think it really is a huge improvement to it, and I fully support it.
Very good. David, do you have any comments?
I do, yeah, and I'm in opposition to this project simply because you're sitting here asking for 153,000, and the city of Sandy still doesn't have a city of Sandy baseball field or any kind of complex, but yet we have a dog park, we have multiple community parks, and we have multiple neighborhood parks, and yet we still don't have a sports complex or a field. And we're wanting to spend $153,000 and another grant on improving a dog shelter and improving a shelter and building shelters to an area that we already have shelters that are barely used. You know, we have shelters at Mining Park that are perfectly capable, and it is hardly ever used. And I know it's hardly ever used because I live right down the road from it. And so, I mean, this isn't okay. I mean, we really need to get some sports complexes in here for the kids and the future of baseball and sports in the city of Sandy. Using the Oregon Trail School District property, as long as they have full control over it, is not a continued thing that we should be looking at, because it is their property. I mean, even though it's paid for by the taxpayers, they treat it as if it's their property and we have no control over it. So, I mean, you know, the city of Sandy seriously needs a sports complex.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with you on the part need for a sports complex. I would like to see one built. I don't see this as necessarily a competing interest to that, but I don't quite agree with you on that. But I certainly appreciate your point. Pat, do you have any?
I appreciate David's point as well. Also, the sports person valuing the idea of having sports fields available for the kids and for the adults. But considering that this is for just recommending that the staff go ahead and try to apply for grant for it, I think that I also agree with Don that it's not necessarily in direct competition trying to get a sports field. So I support this.
Okay. Alex.
Couldn't say better myself. I love it. I love the safety too. I mean, the stairs bring a lot. I was just there and tell. I mean, I'm probably wiped out in a second, especially after all the rain and snow we've been having. People frequently visit that even in this weather. So I love the expansion of the small dog park. I have a small dog myself, take her. So I'm in support.
Very good. From a maintenance perspective, is this resolve? Would this help resolve any of your issues?
I hope that it will resolve it. Where the one staircase is proposed, it's a mowing nightmare. I've slid out, I've gotten stuff, I've hit the fence, damaged the mower, damaged the fence. I think it has the potential to help. It also has the potential to make it worse if we don't plan it out correctly. And then if we could get to put the walking path and extend beyond the fence, that would be a huge help being the grass. We're getting a lot of pushback not to use chemical out there and spray that fence line, and it's really difficult to maintain. I support not spraying it, but we need an alternative.
Yes, and I think the gravel would be a good alternative.
I agree.
Past, the city council approved a policy, years back, that don't spray.
Correct. We're not.
I might also share the concern of the ADA issues. The ability for people to get into it safely that have mobility issues, but very pleased to see this, this grant as we go forward. Does anybody wish to make a motion? Will, did you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Let me see if I can word this, Don. Make a motion that we go ahead and approve pushing this forward to whatever the authoritative body you said we needed to. I don't know. If you can paraphrase it better, Don, go for it.
I think the one, the suggested language was move to support the concept plan as represented and write a letter of support. Is that what you were motioning, Will?
That's what I'm motioning. Thanks, Don.
That's what I heard, yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Will, seconded by Alex. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Not hearing any opposed. David, did you want to vote opposed? Thank you. Okay, well, let's move on then. I believe we're at director's comments.
I'll provide a quick update. What I wanted to start with.
Lose audio, or can you guys hear me?
What, sorry, what did you say, David?
Sorry, I couldn't hear anybody, so I wasn't sure if I lost audio.
Oh, well, we lost you, apparently.
Okay.
The motion was made and we voted. Everybody voted yes, with the exception of we didn't hear your vote on whether to send a letter in support of the project. Did you want to vote for that or against that?
I'm not gonna vote at all for that.
Okay, so you're abstaining.
The black cherry was good.
Okay. I'll count that as an abstention.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to continue.
Yes, so real quick director report, I wanted to start with a little bit of celebration. So Tiana studied very, very hard and received her certified playground safety inspector certification through the National Parks and Recreation Association. And that is a really hard test. And she just, yeah, she nailed it. So
I am today's been set up on the group.
so I just, yeah, congratulations. I want to
Thank you.
It's a great certification. It's going to identify and be able to do safety in our playgrounds and documents, so it brings our environment to public level. And we've also received one applicant for the Parks and Trails Advisory Board for the 2 vacant positions. So if you are out there making a recruit, it closes April 22nd. So that's the week next week. So know anybody that's interested, let's reach out. And then obviously we're staffing up. John started, our executive assistant starts on Monday. So we'll bring her to a future meeting and introduce her. And then we did make a job offer and he accepted a full-time driver position. So we are getting up to full speed. We're gonna get there. So a lot of exciting things happening. My quick update and back over to Don.
Excellent. Well, only one thing to say is we will see you on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the month, and the meeting is adjourned.